Hey, welcome back to Twin Oaks Farm Poultry on YouTube. Thanks for joining us. It's day 19 with our flock of just over 300 Cornish rock cross meat chickens. So back on day 18, we did a video where we basically just brought you into the barn with us the very first time we checked the birds in the morning. And so day 19, we're doing the same kind of thing, but with our evening routine. This is our last check for day 19 into the building with the flock. So some highlights between day 18 and this update, day 19, we did lose a bird. So that is 4 birds total that we've lost out of this flock, and found the most recent one at the morning check on day 19, and basically the bird was large, healthy, but was found on its back, which indicates to us it just managed to get itself rolled over on its back. And the problem for these chickens when they get over on their back is they typically can't get right side up, and they also can't continue to breathe. If they're laying on their back with their head back like that, they just can't breathe. It's compressing their lungs, and they don't have the ability to keep breathing, so they end up suffocating. Interestingly enough, we at one point, first half of the year, had a bird that had originally been a runt, kept it longer than the typical 6-week production cycle that we use, and moved it to a separate building, and it was with a group of maybe 12 other birds, similar case to it, but it would get over on its back day after day. But it figured out if it could hold its head up, it continued to breathe. So we found that bird on its back multiple times and got it righted back over, flipped back over. But typically, if they get over on their back, they don't get right side up again. So definitely, if you're tending to chickens and you see one get flipped over on its back, go help it and turn it right side up, because most of them are not going to be able to continue to breathe if that happens to them. So when we come into the building, no matter what time of day it is, but especially morning and evening, we basically are going through some general wellness steps. So the first thing that we typically do is scan the pen just for general overall flock wellness. And when we do that, we are basically assessing, how do the birds look? Do they look well? And we're also checking to see if there are any birds that are dead that we need to remove the body of the bird from the pen. So upon establishing that, and by that time usually they're seeing our faces and hearing our voices, so they're responsive to that and they begin moving. I've actually stepped over their short wall and am in the grower pen with them. My husband is also in here, and so you're seeing there, that's the next thing we do after kind of the general flock assessment. We look at the waters, and we assess if they've been drinking from the waters, which in this case they have. Was pretty good water consumption. Looks like all 4 of these large waters have been drank from, so that's good. And they also do have the small waters. Temperature was moderate today, so they weren't stressed about temperature, so they weren't drinking the waters empty, but they were still drinking from the water, so that's a good sign. So that was the next thing we checked, was the water, and fill any waters that are even down any. We top them all off. So after the water is checked and the waters are filled, we'll look back at the feed. And I actually believe that we put a bag of feed in this morning. Jared, is that right? Yeah. So a bag of feed already went in to the flock for day 19, and we'll look at the feeders. Like, in fact, we can look in here. This one is about down to there, and same, almost half. These are still have feed in them. So actually we probably won't add any feed here in the evening of day 19. We will go into like feeders like this and help feed that down into the tray. But they are eating, they'll continue to eat. So that was, an overall flock check, water, feed, and then basically most of the birds will be up and starting to move around at that point. But we'll go ahead and we'll walk through the pen like I'm doing now. I just walk through the pen. What we're doing here is kind of checking the birds on an individual basis as practically as we can, because we're in, you know, just a big space, and we'll just walk through the pen and see if the birds move. And sometimes we encourage that because we want to see them move. So we want to see that they do respond by getting up, and we want to see that they do respond by moving away from us. And as they're moving, we're watching their mobility. So it's all good signs when, so I'm just taking my hand and tapping near them, but it's all good signs when they'll get up and move, and we want to see them step out there. So it would be bad signs if they don't move. So these got up, but they do get more and more reluctant to move, and then sometimes they come at you like that. But while we're passing the thermometer, I think we can get you a look at the temperature. So about 68 to 70 degrees range. So that's okay. They would like to be, you know, right in the low 80s or right around 80. But you have to remember, with the body heat being produced in the pen amongst the chickens, and with the fact that they do have bedding material under them that has absorbed, come on, some manure load. So again, we're not quite all the way around the pen yet. We're just asking these birds to move, because like these ones sitting, who knows how long they've sat. We want to see them get up. We want to see everybody walking, see them move. Because if, so I was saying, what would be bad is we're walking around amongst the birds trying to get them to move. A bad response would be no response. If they're not, here's one that's smaller. I'm trying to zoom out, but I'm not getting it to work there. But see, this one is smaller than a lot of its counterparts, but that's okay. It also looks like a hen, so sometimes the hens are a little smaller, but it's walking fine. It's going to food, so that's good. But it would be bad. We'd be watching that bird, like if it refuses to stand up, or if it stands up, doesn't want to move at all. And sometimes when they stand up and move off, they look a little lame or unsound, and we would start checking. Here's another small one. So walking around the pen, we basically identified two that look noticeably smaller than their counterparts, so that's not bad. And both of those appear to be hens. Come on, we want you to get up. So we kind of jokingly call that exercising the broilers. It's not really exercising them, but you know, it gets them up, gets them moving. And we do want them to use their legs throughout growth, because as they grow, you know, they grow quickly. So constantly those legs of theirs are having to bear a little heavier and heavier weight. Here's a good look at, here's a female, here's a male. So what we're starting to see, we got the tip from Conrad in Kentucky that we could tell some by the longer feather length at the wings and longer feather length at the tail as that comes in on the females, as well as on the males, the shorter feather length at the wing and the shorter feather quill down there at the tail. But also, so that's consistent with what we would say now at this point, like this one, by the feathering tip, we would say is a male. And we're also seeing the deeper red in the comb, and the wattles under the beak have a deeper red. So that's consistent with that one being a male. And then that one we were looking at here, we have a friend here. It's a hen. So, you know, and they're friendly, but typically they're friendly. But this one, it's consistent with this one. This is the one we were looking at. Consistent with this one being a hen, because the comb is paler and the wattles, which we're not able to get a good look there. The wattles aren't as prominent. I'm just kind of waiting it out. I don't know if it'll peck at the camera or not, but it's giving it a good look. So anyway, so we are more noticeably and easily distinguishing the male birds and the female birds from each other now at this age, almost 3 weeks old. So again, day 19, we raise them out to day 42. And this is our evening barn check, so things are looking good. So actually they're in really good shape for the evening. We aren't going to turn on heat lamps. It's not supposed to get much lower than 60 degrees. And like I said, with their own body heat produced by the chickens, as well as the heat that comes off of the bedding material from its absorption of their own manure load on it, they'll be warm enough. They'll feel good, but they are really growing. So almost halfway through their process of production. But thanks for joining us at Twin Oaks Farm Poultry, and we'll continue the updates on this flock. So it is at 301 now because we had the bird that turtled overnight from day 18 to 19. So we'll keep the updates coming on them all the way through the end of production. Thanks for watching, y'all. God bless you.